Hello and welcome to Uncensored Conservatism. This is episode number 362, and today we're going to go around the United States with some stories you may or may not have heard of in the headlines, starting here in New Hampshire, where the ACLU and a homeless man are suing the state over loitering laws. They claim that the laws unnecessarily target homeless people. The man has been sleeping in the woods surrounding Concord, New Hampshire, since 2020 when he was arrested. In Vermont, ski slopes are using mountain goats to clear overgrown vegetation on the slopes this year. Now, this is not new. 25 acres are expected to be cleared by the goats over the next 5 weeks. It's been done in the past elsewhere throughout the United States by utility companies using goats to clear vegetation under power lines. So, good use of the goats in Vermont. Michael Minogue has thrown his hat into the 2026 gubernatorial race in Massachusetts. He's a Republican and he's a mega donor to Republican causes and conservative causes. He's a former CEO of a medical technology company, so he definitely has the money to run. He's made no comments since he announced his intentions to run for the GOP primary in the Massachusetts gubernatorial election in 2026. In neighboring Rhode Island, you guessed it, Sheldon Whitehouse, still a dickhead. A 17-year-old in New Jersey was charged with murder after they, in their Jeep, hit two young ladies on an e-bike, which are electronic bicycles, in Cranford, New Jersey. I have a problem with e-bikes because there's a lot of them in the town where I live, and the people who ride them tend to be assholes. Plus, I think e-bikes are just cheating. I mean, move your feet, instead of just sitting on a thing, and they ought to be registered or something. Pennsylvania is warning that layoffs are coming in social services and possibly in schools. The state is in the fourth month of a budget standoff between the state House of Representatives, which is controlled by Democrats, and the state Senate, which is controlled by Republicans. At issue is a school funding formula and Medicaid payments. Good news, West Virginia announced that they are $43.7 million ahead of projected revenues so far in September. They're actually up 4.9% over last year, and the Republican governor is attributing it to GOP policies he put into effect earlier in the year. Okay, so this is William McBride, who goes by the name Sarah McBride because he thinks he's a woman there, but as you can tell by the Adam's apple, that's a dude. And anyway, and in bad lighting. Now, Virginia, they're in the middle of early voting for their governor down there in Virginia. And the federal shutdown of the government, or known as the Schumer shutdown, officials are looking to see what effect this has on voting behaviors. There's 300,000 federal workers who are affected in Virginia. So this could be interesting. Federal judge in North Carolina has ruled that he found no evidence of racial gerrymandering in state Senate districts in the northeastern part of the state. That area of the state is known as part of the Black Belt. This occurred after an 8-month trial after the usual suspects, like the NAACP and people like that, challenged the districts under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, but the judge said he found no violations. So, South Carolina is lauding a decision by the FCC that would allow states and prisons and localities to jam contraband phones in prisons. This is a major problem throughout the country, not only in South Carolina, but they've been at the forefront of the effort to have the FCC allow them to jam these phones. Apparently, the phones are smuggled into prison, and some of the criminals are continuing their criminal enterprises from behind prison walls. So, this is Ruwa Roman, and she becomes the 7th Democrat to throw her hat into the ring in the 2026 gubernatorial election. She will run as a Democrat, obviously. She is the first Muslim or Palestinian, whatever the hell you want to call her, member of the Georgia State House of Representatives. Anyway, good luck to her. I don't think she's going to win. It's Georgia. She's Muslim. Sorry. All right, Florida, building on their record, they've executed a 13th prisoner this year. This guy was arrested for the robbery and murder of his employers, which was a husband and wife team, back in 1990. Apparently, they had just opened up a shop or something, hired this guy, and he stabbed them in the neck. Now, the husband did manage to stagger and grab a pistol and shoot this clown in the head, but he's been on death row for 35 years now for her murder, so double murder. Florida A&M University had to apologize to the Alabama State University over comments made over a halftime performance of the Honeybees, which are a dance team. An announcer referred to the dance team as, quote-unquote, the new face of Ozempic. Apparently there were some very fat people in that dance team. Now, Mississippi, you win the award this week for the most boring state. A Tennessee court has cleared the way for the execution of Krista Pike, the only female on death row in Tennessee. In 1995, she was convicted of the torture killing of a fellow student at some college or Tennessee A&M or something like that, she and her boyfriend, when she carved a pentagram in his chest and took a piece of his skull as a souvenir. She's also been charged with an attack on a fellow prisoner. So she seems like a really nice person. So anyway, she's going to be put to death. Speaking of prisons, a second suspicious death at East Kentucky prison is the second such death in a month. Foul play is suspected, and they do have a suspect or person of interest in mind. Some medium security prison, and maybe they should beef up security there. I don't know. All right, this is Ducky, and he's an endangered whooping crane on a preserve in Wisconsin. Well, Ducky died of the avian flu. Now, there's only 700 whooping cranes left in North America. So, in lieu of flowers, they asked for a donation to the Humane Society or the World Wildlife Fund or something like that. Anyway, rest in peace, Ducky. The Trump administration is going after the state of Minnesota for violations of Title IX, arguing that they are allowing transgenders to participate in female sports, that is, biological males to participate in female sports. They cite at least 5 sports where such transgressions have taken place. So we'll see how that works out. And in a what the fuck moment, you may have heard of this guy, and he's a superintendent of the Des Moines, Iowa school system. Well, he was also overstayed his visa and has been in the country illegally since. ICE finally caught up with him and arrested him. He ran away from the ICE agents. When they found him, he had a loaded gun, cash, and apparently a knife in his car. A lot of people out there got pissed off about it, saying that he was like the best superintendent since sliced apple pie or something. But now we found out that he was also a registered voter in Maryland, and here I've been told that illegal immigrants or aliens cannot register to vote, nor do they vote, although he's received absentee ballots from the state of Maryland. Now we also found out that he received a fake college degree from Morgan State University, and that the powers that be in Des Moines knew about this fake degree and hired him anyway, I guess because, they're so progressive and they had to hire a black guy from Africa or something like that to prove their worth. This is Juliana Stratton. She's the lieutenant governor of Illinois under J.B. Fatslob Pritzker, and she's running for Senate to replace Dick Durbin, who announced he will not run for re-election next year. Now, this is Illinois, so it's Democrats going to win, and we don't know who's going to emerge out of their primary here. But she's citing Pritzker's accomplishments as governor in her run for Senate. So let's hope she keeps doing that, because Pritzker's a dope, okay? And all of his ideas are dopey. Pritzker may be running for president in 2028. Judge in Missouri says that a proposed referendum question in 2026, which would ban abortion on the ballot, has to be rewritten a third time by the state secretary of state, citing that it was confusing and it does not mention a ban on abortion. Now, in 2024, Missouri approved a reproductive rights amendment, and it's back and forth over abortion, and finally, hopefully, the pro-life movement got their act together out there in Missouri. But the state needs to get their act together on the wording of the explanatory statements for the proposal. Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry has requested that the Department of Defense approve the use of 1,000 National Guardsmen to help with law enforcement in 3 high-crime areas: Shreveport, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans. They will not be arresting people. They will just be assisting law enforcement, filling in, while regular law enforcement and or ICE go out and do their job in Louisiana. Trial began in a federal district court over the constitutionality of the new legislative district maps in Texas. The usual suspects, like the NAACP and the ACLU, are claiming that it is racial gerrymandering, and the legislature is countering that, nope, it's political gerrymandering. We just want a partisan advantage. By the way, partisan gerrymandering is constitutional, according to the Supreme Court. Racial gerrymandering, not. So we'll see what the judge rules here. More than 125 illegal alien truck drivers, mainly from China, Uzbekistan, Russia, and Ukraine, have been arrested in Oklahoma in a sting operation on their highways. Many of them hailed from New York, where no name was given on the CDL. They were turned over to ICE officials, and good luck with getting them the hell out of the country and off the roads. The National Guard and police in Nebraska managed to successfully take care of 4 grenades that were found in a home in Lincoln, Nebraska. The grenades were turned over to officials after a family was clearing out some belongings of a loved one. 2 of them were live grenades. They were successfully detonated. Bank of North Dakota, which is run by the state of North Dakota, is working on a loan package for farmers in anticipation of a quote-unquote stress situation come 2026 due to dropping commodity prices. The governor said that you may want to wait on this because there may be possible federal intervention and help coming down the pike. In Montana, 2 grizzly bears were successfully relocated. They were found on private land, and previous attempts to thwart the bears and keep them off of private land failed. They were then captured by wildlife officials and successfully transported. In Montana, when grizzly bears come into contact with humans, they have to be reported to the municipality. Police in Casper, Wyoming are considering filing false reporting charges against someone after the person who allegedly fell in the North Platte River and was lost was found safe in his home. Police deployed drones, boats, and search teams to look for the missing body in the river, which they never found because the guy was safe in his own home. The call was made by the guy's brother, and who the police say were under the influence of something at the time, so maybe it was just a prank gone bad, but now he's going to have to suffer the consequences. So 20 years ago in Colorado, Hunter S. Thompson, who had a ranch there, which was heavily fortified, basically a compound, died as a result of what they said was suicide. Colorado is now reopening an investigation into his death under suspicions that it may have been foul play that led to Hunter S. Thompson's demise. By the way, after being cremated, his wife had him exploded out of a cannon at his request. New Mexico is holding a special legislation session in response to the big, beautiful bill passed in July. They're looking for $180 million in additional spending, specifically $32 million for the SNAP or food stamp program, $6 million for public broadcasting, and another $17 million for health care initiatives. David Schweikert, a Republican congressman from Arizona, threw his hat into the crowded GOP primary for governor of Arizona. This would leaves his seat open. It's a somewhat vulnerable seat for the GOP come 2026 in Congress. The two others in the GOP primary have been endorsed by Donald Trump, and everybody's waiting for whether they will endorse Schweikert. Schweikert is a fairly conservative, pro-Trump voter in Congress. Now, Turning Point USA returned to Utah after the assassination of Charlie Kirk back there when they showed up at Utah State University. The appearance by several Republican and conservative leaders attracted 6,500 people. However, Spencer Cox, the governor, when introduced at a panel, was booed by attendees. Kirk and Cox had a rough relationship over when Cox vetoed a bill that would have prohibited transgenders from participating in female sports. So, in fact, Kirk suggested that Spencer Cox should be kicked out of the Republican Party. A 3-year-old, what is this with hand grenades? A 3-year-old in Washington State found a live hand grenade buried in the lawn while he was playing outside. He took it in, turned it over to his parents. Parents called the cops, and it was successfully detonated. And it was a live grenade. World War II era grenade. Nobody knows how it got there. A federal judge disqualified a Trump appointee as the lead prosecutor in Nevada, saying that she overstayed her temporary status in the job. This calls into question many pending cases in Nevada. California Governor Gavin Newsom, who has visions of the Oval Office come 2026, is mandating a study about the ailing utility and insurance markets in the Golden State. Maybe it has something to do with his stupid policies. Can't wait to see what they come back with. Out in Hawaii, Mazie Hirono, their senator, just batshit crazy. And finally, in Alaska, the reporting and editorial staff of three newspapers quit in protest after a Republican leader up there attacked the owner of these newspapers, which is the owner is based in Alabama, over comments in an article which characterized Charlie Kirk as far-right and holding racist and controversial views. When the lawmaker complained to the owner of the newspapers, the references were dropped. The staff at these three newspapers say the story was changed without consulting them or the editors or reporters. And that's it for today. Have a great day and a more pleasant tomorrow.